This episode of Anxiety Slayer is sponsored by Alarmy. Alarmy has changed millions of people's lives by managing the entire process of falling asleep and waking up. Already recognized as the category-defining alarm clock app, Alarmy is evolving beyond the alarm into the ultimate solution for your successful morning. Use the link in our show notes to download the app today or visit link.alr.mi/Slayer. This week on the Anxiety Slayer podcast, we're going to be exploring the transformative journey of menopause. We've had many questions come into our inbox and Facebook group about how to manage our minds and bodies during this time. So we thought that since this stage of life brings so many significant changes to both mind and body, that it would be crucial to cover how to care for yourself during this time. We're going to discuss what you can expect, common challenges, and some practical tips for maintaining your physical and mental well-being. Welcome back, Ananga.
Hey, Shan.
It's so good to be with you. I hope you enjoyed your summer break.
Thank you.
So let's dig in to understanding perimenopause and menopause. I've been navigating this lane now for about a decade, and I'm grateful for all of the support from people like Claudia Welch and people like Susan Weed and healthcare practitioners that I know, like, and trust, and as well as friendships and everything that I can do to look after myself.
Yeah, I've also been navigating the same, some that we've been going through together, but differently because we've had different experiences.
Yeah.
I like to tell myself I'm emerging out the other side now.
Me too. And so it is.
It's a journey. It's a wild ride, and we know the clinical definition of going into that experience, the hormonal fluctuations. But what we're really living with is, what does that feel like?
Mm-hmm. What does it feel like? And how can we support ourselves through this naturally, if that's what you're so inclined to do, and to the best of your ability with the choices that you make?
Yeah. Do you want to share some of the common challenges?
Sure. Some of the common symptoms that you might experience include hot flashes, which, as you probably know if you're experiencing them, are sudden feelings of warmth, often with sweating and getting red-faced and just feeling like, oh my goodness, I have to, tear off all my clothes and put my face in a bowl of ice water. And just as quickly as it comes on, it leaves. And then for some people, there are also night sweats as well, where these hot flashes are occurring in your sleep, which can wake you up throughout the night. And then as well as weight gain, because the changes in our metabolism are such that you could start to gain weight. And again, that ties back to your hormones and the fluctuation there, and just your whole body is changing in a way that it's a complete transformation. It's just a completely burn it all down and build it back up transformation. I mean, that's how I look at it anyways. I don't want to scare the hell out of anybody, because for some people, they move through it quite easily. And for others, it's a significant challenge. I'm grateful to be somewhere in the middle of all that. But I also started looking after myself with herbs and teas and tinctures, my pre-menopause phase, which I know has been helpful during this experience.
Yeah. What I didn't realize was how many bodily functions are affected by hormonal fluctuation.
Mm-hmm.
And how much of a role those hormones play in our overall physiology, not just to do with being in a female body and having a cycle and going through this transition, but they're implicated in so many things. I wasn't aware of that before I started trying to educate myself. And in a short while, we're going to be talking about looking at this Ayurvedically, because different body types will have different experiences. For example, I have an aunt who would have to get up and change her sheets in the night most nights, because she would have these hot flashes that made her really perspire. So she'd have to change her nightwear and her bedding. And by the time you'd done that, you're really awake. So that was something that she went through that was quite intense. Others might experience more of a dry heat. Others might experience more anxiety. Again, these are things we're going to explore shortly in more detail.
One of the things that I noticed in the beginning of my menopause journey is that, whoa, did I have some mood swings and some irritability, and my level of anxiety definitely amped up a bit. As we're going to move into, because of my pitta dosha, my pitta was significantly out of balance.
Mm.
And since I've been working on that quite a bit, I've noticed that I'm not as irritable, that my moods are not where they were before, and even the amount of anxiety has lessened because I am practicing what we preach, and I'm looking after my body as and putting my body in the space of being more important than it's ever been in this lifetime, because I don't want to suffer and I don't want you to suffer. So there are so many choices that you can make as long as you're willing to make those choices and look after yourself and really care for your mind and body to the best of your ability so that you can move through this transition and improve your quality of life, because you can do it.
Yeah, there are certainly things that we can do to even the experience out naturally, natural things we can do, and they're not such a big deal. I think it's just that we can feel so mentally hijacked and overwhelmed by the changes. And, we've got these chemicals in our body, and it can feel like you're on something, like there's something happening in your body that you really are caught up in.
Yeah.
Many women experience memory lapses or difficulty concentrating, sometimes referred to as brain fog. That's definitely been my experience. And with the health conditions I have, it's also there with them as well. So that's something I've had to really find humor with.
Yes.
Fortunately, having friends and a co-host on this podcast going through a similar experience, we have been able to just laugh and, keep going. But it can be a little disconcerting when you're struggling to concentrate. You might be reading and you're reading the same line over and over again. You're trying to remember something you need to share and it just goes out of your head. Yeah, I've been fortunate to be around a lot of good humored people who have it kind of becomes understood.
Yeah.
And when there's humor around it, it makes it a lot easier. So, a really important time for self care. I think self care is more critical than ever during this time of life, going through perimenopause, menopause. Self care is always important during transitions because any change, even good change, according to Ayurveda, can put us under stress. It puts us under duress. Even if we want to change our eating, I learned this from Dr. Vasant Lad. He said, if you want to look at your portion sizes, the ideal healthy portion size to eat is the quantity you can hold in your two cupped hands. And many of us stray away from that and start eating more than we need.
I'm cupping my hands now.
I love it that we all have that measurement because everyone's hands are different size. So that's your perfect portion size measurement.
Mm.
But he said, even if you notice you're eating way more than that and you need to make that adjustment or you choose to make that adjustment, don't do it overnight. Gradually reduce because even changing that can startle your system. So this is a transition where we're going to be startled for about a decade. So self-care is really important, and caring for your mind and body can bring not only an improvement to riding through the change, but to the quality of your life. And for me, it's been a great teacher, been a lot of lessons in this. And again, this is something we're going to talk about more, but I think for many women, it's a transition into autonomy and speaking up for your needs as well. That's the silver lining in the cloud of the experience.
Let's talk about our changing hormones and how our doshas change, and basically Ayurvedic support for menopause, because that's what you and I have been actively engaged in. And I think that it'll be really helpful for our listeners who are navigating through this change of life.
Yeah. Ayurveda doesn't see the menopause as a condition that needs treatment. It certainly doesn't see it as a disease. It sees it as a significant transition, and then looks at us as individuals who might need support according to our individual nature. So it's a very respecting outlook, very supportive. Ayurveda always looks at our individual nature, our doshas, our nutrition, our lifestyle, and it supports us in making gentle adjustments to stay in balance or regain balance if we've drifted off, which our tendency is to do. But it's a very positive, comforting outlook. It's a kind outlook. It's not that there's something wrong with us, it's that we're going through a transition that deserves support. So menopause is a time of transition of hormonal changes, but also doshic changes. This information for me was really helpful. Ayurveda teaches that every stage of life is governed by a particular dosha. So we've spoken about these doshas, vata, pitta, kapha, these body types that we all have, but they also come into the stages of our life where we can be under their influence a little more, depending on where we are in life. For example, children, babies and children are under the kapha energy. Sometimes they're also said to be a little bit under the vata energy because they're whizzing around and they're kind of hyper. But if you look at a child, they tend to have big, beautiful eyes, perfect skin, bouncy hair. It's all this kapha growth, building energy that we find in the body. From youth to our middle years, we're more in the pitta stage of life, this more fiery, achieving stage of life. For most of us, it's a time of study, then work and career. It's an active, striving, ambitious stage of life. So it comes under this influence of this fiery nature of pitta. And at the time we enter menopause, we're transitioning from the pitta to the vata stage of life. So we're coming from a fire energy to an air energy. And that's where we might experience more anxiety and dryness in the body as the qualities of vata increase.
And depending on the dosha that was prevalent for you for most of your life up until perimenopause and menopause, that might be an additional change to be mindful of, to be navigating through. I know that as a pitta person, being more vata means that I need to be even more loving and kind with myself. When I do miss something, when I do make a mistake, when I'm not quite as quick, all of those things are okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm used to. I don't have to really like it, but if it is an error, I fix the error. If it is a lapse, I figure out what the lapse is. If it is an overreaction, I sit with it and apologize, or whatever it might be. Where if my fire is just that fiery nature is like, oh, you know what? It's okay to move into this more airy, creative, and funny woman that I'm becoming. Like that. Let's look at it that way.
Yeah, and that's night and day in terms of experience, because if we're going to get fried with ourselves, we're going to increase the symptoms, we're going to increase our mental suffering. It really can go either way so quickly when you're going through this experience. We can either take ourselves out at the back of the knees, or we can sit ourselves down and really show ourselves some kindness and some support and redirection. And it can feel high maintenance, it's ongoing maintenance, but it really helps to have this understanding that we're going to need a little extra kindness and some extra rest, and prioritizing our needs. Paying attention to good hydration with warm herbal teas helps. Using good quality oil in cooking and for massage to balance out the dryness. Restorative yoga. Resting our digestion. Our digestion might feel like it can't do what it used to be able to do. It might not have so much energy. So simple, nourishing meals, resting between meals, allowing a good spell of time, a few hours between eating, so that our body's processing that nourishment well before we take anything else into our system. And the obvious, avoiding hot spices, alcohol and caffeine. When we're able to take a step back and watch instead of just being caught up in a whirlwind.
Yeah.
We notice this didn't serve me so well. I need to adjust that.
I've noticed that avoiding those things has been really helpful for me. I used to love to have craft beer. I don't drink anymore because I wasn't responding to it well. It didn't make me feel good. I wasn't metabolizing it the same way. Also, in my research, I learned that alcohol is one of the worst things you can put in your body during this time in your life because you've already got so much else going on that adding the alcohol can make things go even more wonky.
Yeah. And our liver's already so busy,
Right,
and our liver's processing the hormones.
right.
And it's explained that between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., the body should be really resting in as clean a state as possible because that's when it does its work. So that's the time we need to be asleep, resting, and to have had healthy hydration and just let the body do what it's trying to do for us. But if it's got alcohol to process as well at that time, it's overtaxed. And that's why people ping awake anxious at, around 2 a.m. It's a common time
Yeah.
for people to say, "Oh, I just keep waking up at this time and I feel a bit anxious." It's usually because the liver energy's out of balance.
Hmm.
So, yeah, simple self care.
After this quick break, we're going to be talking about the benefits of staying active, hot flashes and anxiety, and why social connection is of such great importance during this time in your life. If you're a heavy sleeper who has a hard time waking up in the morning, even when you set several alarms and worry that you're going to be late for school or work or whatever it is you have going on, the Alarmy app is a game changer. With this alarm, you have no choice but to wake up in the morning. Plus, it can even help you sleep better at night. My son is a deep sleeper who often wakes up just enough to hit the snooze button and then fall back into a deeper sleep. He's been using the Alarmy app now for about a month and says that it's helping him get up because of the wake up missions that guarantee that you get out of bed. And you can set up a different mission, whether it be a math mission to solve, a shake mission, or a squat mission that has to be completed before you can turn the alarm off. And you can customize the alarm sounds. And even if you're struggling to get to sleep at night, you'll also find that this app has some relaxing sleep sounds to help you fall asleep faster. They also have a sleep analysis option that will analyze your breathing and the efficiency of your sleep. All of these features are available in the Alarmy free app, which is available for Apple and Android operating systems. Use the link in our show notes to try out Alarmy today, or visit link.alr.my/Slayer. Staying active is one of the most important things, one of the most important gifts you can give yourself when you're navigating through perimenopause and menopause. And this has everything to do with the importance of keeping your body strong and understanding that menopause is going to lead to a decline in estrogen levels, which can result in decreased bone density and an increased risk of osteoporosis. What we've learned is that weight bearing exercises like walking, jogging, and strength training will help stimulate bone formation and slow down this bone loss, which reduces the risk of fractures and maintaining bone health. Bone health is incredibly important and something that we probably don't think about much before we enter the menopause stage of our lives.
Yeah, simply taking care of just with the things that we usually recommend for anxiety relief. Even when we're doing yoga, we're doing some strength training, using our own body, weight bearing exercise, using our own body, walking, committing to walking every day. It's such a simple thing where so much is taken care of, including our mental health. Ayurveda recommends also for good digestion that we walk after each meal, even if it's just 100 steps pacing up and down, but better to get outside if you can. I was reminded recently by listening to an Ayurvedic practitioner. She said people often say, if I eat this particular food or that food, I feel so sluggish. And she said it's not always the food, it's that we need a little help to move, to digest. So to take a few steps after each meal, which keeps us moving, protects us from being too sedentary, and takes care of so many things.
Some of the techniques that we can use to reduce stress and anxiety during this time are, again, the techniques that we recommend so often to you. Find a breathing exercise that works for you. Find a practice that you enjoy, whether that be yoga or qigong or simply walking each day, whatever that might look like. Consider moving more into a meditative state when you can. Meditation is incredibly helpful. Even if it's walking meditation, you can do both of those things and really benefit yourself. And then journaling whatever is going through your mind during this time in your life. Getting your thoughts and feelings on the page is really helpful as well.
Yeah, journaling saves my sanity. I journal every single day. It helps me clear my head, helps me process things, and it helps me notice patterns of what's working and what isn't. And I find it helpful to review my journal and see, things I can improve or things I'm glad I did, things I'm glad I started doing for myself and how they're paying off, a year or a few months later. So definitely a good time to be reflective.
Let's talk a little bit more about hot flashes and anxiety.
Yeah, I think this is the most commonly discussed experience, isn't it? I mean, I've seen my mum go through it, and myself, friends. You and I have had some laughs about it mid-recording on occasion. We've needed to make adjustments. They can come with such a rush of energy that it can feel so physically and mentally unsettling. I have a friend who said that she would feel like she was losing her mind, but it was just before the hot flash was about to begin. So she could be doing something, talking with somebody, and she felt completely fine. And then she'd just have this rush of energy in her head, and she'd feel like, oh my God, I'm just losing my mind. Then the heat would come. And it was helpful for her to notice that, okay, this is where that's coming from because it was such a powerful experience. Once she understood what was happening, she could support herself and kind of get used to it. But still, every time that was her experience for just a few seconds. So she just knew to breathe and wait and let it pass.
Mm-hmm.
It can be helpful to talk with other women, share your experience, and experiment with different practices like the cooling breath, which we've shared before, tapping, gentle stretching, whatever helps you let that experience pass as peacefully as possible without it escalating into anxiety. And of course, just any stress can bring on a hot flash. So anything we're doing to keep our stress levels low and look after ourselves in general also helps.
My husband brought me home a little handheld battery operated fan. And then I also bought one of those beautiful folding fans.
Yeah.
And so I travel with the folding fan in my purse. And if I need it, if I'm out for lunch or if I'm out and about, and it's just a part of my life now. And then the other one, not quite so bold to take that out in public, but I'll use that if I have a flash coming on and while I'm sitting in the living room or whatever. And it's kind of become this silly thing in my family. They come up,
Yeah.
I do my thing, feel better, or the cooling breath is really helpful. Can you share the cooling breath with us really quickly?
Yeah, the easiest way to do it is if you can curl your tongue. Apparently, it's a genetic thing, not everyone can do it. You just curl your tongue, breathe through your tongue like a straw slowly, or put your tongue up behind your front teeth as if you're saying the letter L. Breathe in slowly, and the air cools the underside of your tongue, the blood vessels in your tongue, and just cools the body down.
It really does.
We need the tips and tricks, and if we've got things in place, then we're okay.
And then moving through perimenopause and menopause, Many women are living in an energy debt. Claudia Welch says between holding down a job, maintaining relationships, and caring for her family, a woman often blows through the energy that she earns from sleep, good food, and good company. Her daily needs repeatedly outpace her daily intake of energy, which is so profound.
And that really colors the experience. That makes it so much more challenging to live with and move through. When we dip into our energy reserves, we're going in the red and we're depleting our nourishment. Ayurveda teaches that we should only ever use half of our energy. If we're working out or exercising, you use half your energy and you save the rest for maintenance, healing, cellular repair. Don't spend all your budget. My Chinese doctor, acupuncturist, mentioned this to me a couple of weeks ago as well. He said, don't ever use all your energy. And I was like, oh, same teaching. So really important. But for many women, we are often in energy debt. There are situations where we feel we can't say no. There are situations that we feel we have to deal with. And I think one of the key benefits and teachings of this stage of life is we're not needed often as much as parents. And it is a time of life where we can really review what we need. It's a good opportunity to explore supporting our healthcare at a deeper level, looking at the quality of our rest and looking at our aspirations, what we want from life, going deeper into our life. And also a quick note on permission and rest. There's a clip on Instagram that often comes up of Claudia Welch saying, we might learn to make better choices in our eating and our drinking and different areas of our life. But she said rest is usually the last one we get to grips with making healthy choices with. And she said, how many people will lay on a sofa and say, oh, I just really need to rest. And then they hear someone come in and they grab a book or a duster or a magazine or something to be seen to be doing. That we have this thing that we can't be seen just resting because we need to rest. And she said that sometimes, in menopause, we need to nurture this yin energy, this cooler energy that's mentioned in Chinese medicine. She's a practitioner of both Ayurveda and Chinese medicine. And we need to nourish this yin energy. And she said that means permission to rest. And she said sometimes you could call it yin medicine to lay on a sofa for a week because we rest as long as we need to. So that's really something to work on, permissive rest. I give myself permission to sit here with this book, lay here with a glass of water, whatever we need to do, to know what we need to do and to give ourselves permission to do it. Because if we're horizontal with the wheels in our head spinning, we are not resting. And that's something that chronic illness has taught me. It's very easy for me to look like I've taken to my bed in pain, but am I resting or am I laying there thinking of all the things I should be doing? So really important to take the opportunity to review these things at this time.
And closing out the episode today, let's shift gears and talk about the opportunities that come with menopause. I found that this transition for me has really been an invitation to be kind and to be very firm and honest and enjoying healthy boundaries, to really step into the wise woman that I am, that I've become.
Yeah. Ayurveda regards this transition as a move into our wisdom years, the Vata stage of life. It's a wise stage of life. It's intended for wisdom, spiritual growth, deep reflection, the opportunities to really get to know ourselves and what we want for our lives on a deeper level. It's a time when we can be more humorous, more creative, and more detached. And you hear women say this a lot. I don't have time for shenanigans anymore. We just have this kind of natural boundary that comes at this stage of life. I heard somebody say recently, I don't have energy for that, but she didn't mean she was tired.
No.
She meant she had a budget for her energy.
Right.
And she wasn't going to spend her energy on that. And I thought, oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, because it's a time where we want to be more reflective, more creative, introspective,
Yeah.
just to be in that space of, all right, this is where I am. Where do I want to take this next chapter?
Yeah.
What is this going to look like for me?
It's the wise years where we step back from all the material stuff and go as deeply as we can with whatever our spiritual alignment is. This is the time to really give ourselves permission to do that and to explore. And for me, that's been the great gift of this transition is I've got to a point now where there's no going back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm where I want to be and I'm grateful. And it's been quite a journey, not easy, but I'm happy with my choices and happy with my alignment to my spiritual path. And I know what I need. And that was a gift of going through this time and really having to do a lot of soul searching.
Mm.
So these are natural stages of life that, while challenging, offer an opportunity for growth, deeper self-knowledge, self-care. And by understanding these changes and taking proactive steps to care for ourselves, care for our mind and body, we can embrace the transition and, go through it with some confidence and ease. And always remember to seek support whenever we need it and make sure that we have that in place as well.
Thanks, Ananga. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, rate, and leave us a review. And please share this episode with someone who might benefit from our conversation. We're celebrating the first anniversary of our popular Ayurveda course, where we walk you through how to get to know your dosha and how to care for yourself through lifestyle adjustments, nutrition, and choices for balanced living. Save 25% when you enroll in 7 Keys to Calming Anxiety with Ayurveda today. Special offer available through September with the coupon code BIRTHDAY. Check out the course at anxietyslayeracademy.com.